the first of the real videos in the Ride Bikes Be Happy series of videos on the YouTube channel. Up till now, I've just been posting a couple of videos about things that I've been doing and so on, but the real aim of Ride Bikes Be Happy was basically help with bike setup, bike handling skills, bike maintenance skills, all the different ways that I, through 30 years of experience riding bicycles, have learned. So what are these videos about? Well, my original idea with the Ride Bikes Be Happy YouTube channel was, as I said, to create a channel where people could learn a little bit more about bike setup, bike maintenance, and how to ride bikes, so gain some bike riding skills. So here goes. So a little cramped space here in the workshop, but let's have a look at basic bike setup. So that brake squeak is going to be kind of annoying. Hopefully it doesn't come out too much on the video. So let's get right into the basics of bike setup. The very first thing that you're going to look at on your bike, and it's not suspension. The very first thing you're going to look at on your bike, assume so you've got the correct frame size. The first two things to get right are your bar and your saddle, because there's not much you can do with your pedals. In my case, I have a slightly different setup to a stock bike. Most bikes in large and extra large would come with a 175mm long crank. I use a 180mm long crank, and that's because I have a really, really long leg. This is my hip bone up here, so my fat roll is actually my hip bone, which means that I have a 1 meter inseam, or 98 centimeter inseam. So I stand really high on my legs and I've got a very short upper body, so while I ride an extra large bike, I need an extra large or an extra long seat post to deal with that. So I get a lot of flack about how far my seat post is now. The standard setup, the old school setup, was always that your seat post should be at about the same as your hip height. So there's my hip there, where my thumb is, and there's my seat. So in actual fact, this is perfect. And in the seated position, I need to be able to just bend my leg when my crank is all the way at the bottom. Now, as I said, I run a 180mm crank, so I'm just over what is normal. But if I put my heel on the pedal and I back pedal, I shouldn't be rocking my hips at the bottom of the stroke. And I just rock my hips, and it's because of my bike setup. So trust me here, you can move things around a little bit. But that's your basic bike setup. So you want to be able to sit on the bike, put the heel of your shoe on the pedal, and back pedal around, and you shouldn't rock your hips. Some people will say just get it all the way to the bottom, and your legs shouldn't be 100% straight. But that's sometimes you might lean to one side or the other. So the best is to actually climb on the bike, put your heels on the pedals, and back pedal. And if you don't feel like you're rocking over either way, then you basically have the perfect saddle height. So that's the number one. That's getting your saddle at the right height. If your saddle's at the right height, the next thing to look at is your bar. And I think that bar setup is more of a misnomer than saddle height. So if your handlebar comes from a decent high-end company, this is a C6 handlebar made by a company in South Africa. It's a carbon fiber handlebar, and it has the increments on it. Any handlebar should have those increments on it. Even the handlebars that come on decent quality bikes, they should have these little notches that you'll be able to see over here. And the middle is marked as 0. Now what people don't understand is that 0 is not the middle of the stem. It's your 0 line of your horizon.
In other words, when you look at the front of the bike, this 0 over here should be at the level of the horizon.
So what happens more often than not is that people will build their bike. The zero is in line with the middle of the stem. That makes the bar roll downwards. So the back sweep of the bar is actually now pointing downwards. That's going to mean that when you ride, your hands are going to feel comfortable sitting like this. And you want your hands to be sitting like that in a comfortable open position so that your elbows can move around. So you actually need to roll your handlebar far enough forward that that zero is your horizon. In my case, I ride a little bit more moto, so I put my elbows out even more. I try to force myself to put my elbows out even more because I don't naturally do it. So I kind of have to con my mind into doing it. So I roll my bar slightly beyond the horizon, but never back. There is only one situation where having your bars rolled back makes any sense, and that's if you're a cross-country racer climber. You're going to make up most of your lap speed or whatever climbing. Then you can roll your bars a little bit back, but not too much back, because what that will do is it'll make you bring your elbows in a little bit. So when you're climbing with your elbows close to your sides, and that's what gives you a little bit more power seated and climbing. That is the only reason to ever roll your bars backwards. If you're rolling your bars backwards on your downhill bike, you're just defeating yourself, because there's no way you're going to comfortably corner, comfortably jump. It's going to happen because your elbows are tight and they're in, and you're not going to be able to let the bike move around because your shoulders are going to be tight and you're going to be riding like this. So roll your bars forward, get your elbows out, and then you can flow with your bike. So just one last thing on handlebars is your handlebar height. Now, that's a bit of a comfort thing. There's no real science on this. But over the course of an entire ride, to be able to say yay or nay on a high rise or a low rise bar is a tough one. But what I can tell you is that if you're getting pain in your back, or specifically mid to lower back, if that pain is happening, that isn't because your bar is too low. It's because your saddle is too low or too high generally. It could be because your bar is too low, but more often than not, it's actually just because your saddle is too low, so you're not stretching out your glute properly at the bottom of your pedal stroke, and over the course of a long ride, what's happening is that your backside is basically tensing up, and it's pulling the muscles in your lower back in, and that's what's causing your back pain. So I'm going to leave you with that for now. There's quite a lot of information there already. I hope you got something out of this. Next week I'll put up the next one, which is suspension setup, and we can go further. Until then.